Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to this week's card. Today I'm using the Lawn Fawn Winter Owl set. It has 3 different stamps in it. The hearts actually come as one stamp, but I cut them apart so that I could separate them. Anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of 4.25 by 5.5 inch folded cardstock. So this is actually my card base, and I'm going to be inking up the edges directly onto my base, and I'm using tumbled glass distress ink with my foam applicator. And I know sometimes you kind of get some ink on the back of the card, which I think is fine because when the person turns it over to see where you bought it, they'll see, wow, I guess she must have made it. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm going to wipe off my craft sheet, which I will have a link to on my blog. It's a great craft sheet. All right, next I'm going to take some Night of Navy Stampin' Up! Ink and this Tiny Star background by Hero Arts. And I'm going to put it right on top of this background that I just inked up. And I like to do my stamps upside down when they're big just to make sure I have good coverage. And I just put a scratch sheet on there and I rub it to make sure I get all of the pieces of my cardstock covered. Alright, now I'm going to be stamping my scene, which is I got this branch from the Owl Christmas set, which is a pretty old Hero Arts set. And I've used it quite a bit, so if you can find it, it's a good buy. I've got Garden Green Stampin' Up! Ink, and then I'm going to take my owl and I'm going to use Memento Black Tuxedo ink, and I'm using that because I'm going to be coloring this owl with Copic markers. Now before I color him, I wanted to draw this line just in case I messed it up. So I'm just doing a freehand line. I actually use this gel pen. I don't know why I use this pen. I mean, I know my Stampin' Up! Markers out of ink and I need to buy a new one, and that's what I usually use, but afterward I thought, gosh, I'm going to be using Copics right next to it. I really should have used a Copic liner, which I have. I don't know why I didn't use it. Anyway, so I'm going to color the scarf first, and I'm using RV13, R29, and R39. And I start with my lightest color first, where the highlight's going to be. And then I went in with my medium color, which is the R29, and I'm kind of feathering it. This takes a little bit of practice because you have to have a pretty steady hand, but once you get it down, it's pretty easy to do. So you just kind of feather upward. So that's why I flipped my cardstock over, because I like to start at the bottom and flick my hand upward. It just seems to make it easier. And that way you get kind of those little mini lines right there on the highlight. All right, this is my darkest. It's R39. And doing that same exact movement with the tip, feathering upward. And as I'm feathering, it's blending a little bit, but I will go back with that lighter color, so the R29, to blend it a little bit better. So here's my R29. Flip it over, R29 again, just to blend those two, R39 and R29 together. And then the last step is to take that lighter color and go right over where you did the feathering. And that really kind of makes it come together. And that's all there is to it. I wanted to make this card pretty easy, so I didn't want to overdo it. So I'm just going to do this same technique on these 2 pieces of the scarf here. And what you want to do first is figure out where your highlight's going to be. So where the scarf would sort of bend is where you would get a highlight. And this area is so tiny, so you have to be careful that it all doesn't run together. Okay, next I'm going to color the owl. If you haven't seen my post on Christmas gift ideas, I did a little sample sheet of my favorite color combinations, and I'll have a link back to that on this blog post. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the video description. And this is one of my favorite combinations, the 31, 34, 39. And so I started with these small areas. I'm tending to start with the light, medium, and then dark, just because I don't want to overdo the color, because then it gets too saturated and everything starts to blend together. So I'm being careful to preserve my lightest area and not go over it too much. So the wing on the left is going to have the 2 darker colors, and the wing on the right is going to have the 2 lighter colors, because my light is coming from the right hand side. And then for the belly and the eyes, I did them both the same just because I wanted to keep it simple. So I kept the 31 from the owl's body and I added one lighter color, which is E30. And then finally YR12 for the beak. Alright, next I took R29, which is my medium color from the scarf. I'm just going to color these berries. And then I took that same marker and I'm just coloring in the edges here. And I'm being really careful not to touch that gel pen, and it worked out pretty well. I think I got lucky. But anyway, I love to do this with the Copic markers because you don't get, like if you overlap your color on the cardstock, it doesn't make a darker shade. It all blends so that it looks even all the way around, no matter how many layers you have on there. Now here's my sentiment. I'm going to stamp it with VersaFine black ink. I love the way this ink works with clear stamps. And now the hearts, and as I said earlier, I cut them apart so I could place them in different areas of my card. And so what I did was I arranged them where I wanted them to be, and then I used my block to put them on. This is Real Red ink by Stampin' Up. Stamp that on there. And I find that I'm using Stampin' Up inks more since I did my little dye ink comparisons. If you want to check that out, Stampin' Up had some really good results with that. So I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back and I'm going to pop it up right there on the card. And of course it wasn't perfect, so I pulled it off and did it again. Alright, that's it. Pretty simple card, not too bad. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.